All right. You can, let's start with this one.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत. बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
This is Bharat FM.
Welcome to Bharat FM's signature Sunday interview show, Stars Aligned. I'm Mayank Chaya. First, my apology for starting the show a bit late. We have had some connectivity issues and I think we are fine now. My guest today is a very well-known cricketer turned a very well-known politician, Mr. Kirti Azad, who, as a member of the iconic 1983 World Cup winning India cricket team, played a crucial role at the very right time. And I'm going to tell you a bit about that because many of you may not remember that. When the odds were heavily stacked against India and England was sure to win the semi-finals, to reach the finals and even win the World Cup, many interesting twists and turns occurred. One of them was when Kirti Azad came in to bowl Ian Botham. Now, some of you may remember Ian Botham was quite a slogger, so a lot of anxiety was around on the field. Botham, the first ball, I think he reverse swept and scored a couple of runs. And worry began to rise at that point. But for some reason, Mr. Azad, who was only 24 at that point, decided his quintessential flat air off spinner, which Botham went back foot to try and hit. Instead, the ball hit his leg stump, and that completely changed the fortunes of the game. And then England collapsed basically at 213 in 16 overs. India wrapped it up with 217 with just 4 wickets in 55 overs, paving the way for what turned out to be the first great win for the Indian cricket team. And for Mr. Azad personally, it was perhaps his greatest cricketing moment. And we are extremely pleased to have him this morning on the show. Welcome to the show, Mr. Azad.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you very much.
Let's begin with a morning in 1983. I think it was sometime in June when you got a call from Kapil Dev. And I quote him, "Congratulations, Kirti, tera naam aa gaya." And you said?
Yes, I was actually playing as a professional in Lancashire, because there are lots of these clubs and they invite one overseas professional. So I was playing for in the Lancashire county, and I get this call from Kapil early morning saying, "Kirti, tera naam team mein aa gaya, congratulations." So straight away the reaction was, "Thank you, Kapil. We got a 1 month free paid holiday," because never expected, to win, and even the odds given to us, favoring us, was 66 to 1. And there were 8 teams, and we were second from the bottom to win it. So obviously, we didn't have a chance. And before the 2 editions of the World Cup, we had only beaten one team, which was East Africa. That was also full of Gujarati players, who had migrated into Kenya, into East Africa. So that was it. So I thought we were there for a holiday, and we'll travel around England and see various places. Well, it was fun basically, because we never thought that we could really beat that mighty West Indies. We had only 2 players of note in our team, world-class players.
Right.
One was Sunil Gavaskar, and the other was the legendary Kapil Dev. Both were legends, and they're both living legends still. And they were the only 2, and the others were, players not known to the entire world. So here we were, going to play the World Cup. Well, not very optimistic, but really very happy to be there in the Indian squad. The team had booked a ticket that we'll play the round-robin games of our league, and then the team who were not playing as professionals in England had booked their tickets to go to the USA to play a few charity matches there.
I see.
So tickets for that, and it is altogether a history. And now you know that how it all happened. So
yeah. No, you mentioned. Right.
The role that you defined mine in semi-finals was obviously the highlight of that tournament
Exactly.
that we won in 1983.
Tell me a bit about it, because I was watching the video again and again. You were known to bowl your off spinner rather flat. It's almost like a medium pacer's off spinner. Was that a conscious choice, or were you comfortable with? How did you decide, rather than giving it some air, you always flattened it? What was going through your mind at that point?
All those who play cricket and follow the game, when the ball is coming onto the bat, it's much easier to make strokes. Because if it's coming onto the bat, you can easily go play on the rise, go up to the ball, play it, because the ball is not going to stop and come up to you. It was it's like a beautiful Indian summer. It was approximately 34, 35 degrees that particular day. That summer was like an Indian summer. And you were not allowed to water your gardens that year because there was a shortage of water. So when we went and played the Old Trafford wicket, which is supposed to be lively, but when we played at Manchester, the Old Trafford, that day the wicket was absolutely dry. There was not a speck of grass there on the pitch, although the outfield was lush green. But there was no bounce in the wicket, there was no pace in the wicket, and the ball was not coming onto the bat. So if somebody was bowling quick, he was very easy to hit because the ball was coming easy and nice because of the pace of the fast bowler. And then the batsman could manipulate to play strokes. That is how they managed to get 96 for a couple of wickets in about only 14 overs. And in those days, if you scored anything around 4, 5, or 6 runs an over, used to be a very good average per over. Nowadays, you get 12 and 15 runs an over in 20 games. So I remember when I was called, they were going pretty good. And when Jimmy Amarnath was asked to bowl from one end, and I was asked to bowl from one end, and I thought we were going to just bowl a quota of 6 overs each, and then the regular bowlers would come in again. But then when I saw the pitch, I saw that there was not much of a pace. It was no good to bowl really quick because then the ball would go on to the batsman and he could easily make strokes. If the ball is coming slow up the track and the bounce is not much, then the batsman is obviously in trouble, especially those who are stroke players. So when I came into bowl, we had Alan Lamb and David Gower batting. And they are very good stroke players. So Jimmy from one end, he was bowling his slow military medium, and I was bowling my off spinners from the other end. So I decided that I'll bowl really slow. You know, it's always strategy. You see the pitch, you see the conditions, and then accordingly you change your strategy as to how you're going to bowl. So obviously that happened. And when I saw the first over that the batsman had difficulty driving, I said, this is what I'm going to do for the next 6 overs, not realizing that I'll be made to bowl 12 overs. So I started bowling slow. It was giving me support. I got encouragement. So what I did was started bowling slower. Mm-hmm. And when I started bowling slower, the ball would it would barely reach Kirmani, who was standing behind the stumps. So that was the strategy I took. And between us, we bowled 24 overs. I gave 55 runs, got their 4 wickets. That was Lamb. Lamb was run out, Gower, Botham, and Gatting. So these were 4, the basic backbone, the middle order.
Right.
We restricted them, and they were in dire straits when we had when we had completed our quota of overs.
Right.
So that was it. So slower. I remember Botham coming in, and he came there. He's a stroke player and very entertaining. But the Indian crowd don't love him at all. So when he came into bat, so Krishnamacharya came to me. Shrikant, and he said, Kirti, you must get him. I said, fair enough, I'll get him, don't worry. Because he's a stroke player. If I frustrate him, I'm sure he's going to do something. That is the reason he played one of the reverse sweeps, because he was not able to get any runs out of me. He tried to hit me a couple of times, hit the bottom of the bat, it just rolled back to me, sometimes going to short mid-wicket or thing. So he got frustrated. And then in that, I bowled a real slower one. It kept low, spun, and hit the bottom of the leg stump.
Right.
So the crowd went berserk. The Indian people who were there, the NRIs and others, and they had come from all over England, even from Europe, to watch that game. So they came running into the ground, and somebody gave me a pound note, a £5 note, £10, £20, £50. So I had about approximately 250 pounds, and that was a hell of a lot of money those days for that one wicket. And
that was quite a bounty for you. That's true.
Oh, very true, yes.
Tell me something. I want to back up a little bit. You did talk about the fact that you were just a notch above the bottom of the out of the 8 teams, just above Zimbabwe, I think. A team with that kind of standing in the World Cup suddenly finds itself in the semi-finals, facing the favoured English team, which was predicted to win. What is the mindset of players, especially the captain and someone like you? What were you thinking when you went into the game?
Well, many of us, obviously having, if you look at the record till then that we have had in one-day cricket, it was absolutely dismal.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't good at all. and with the mighty West Indies in front of you, and Australia and West Indies, Australia, England, even Pakistan for that matter, New Zealand, they had very good players for one-day cricket. They were doing very good performances they were giving as a team. And we as a team hadn't succeeded. But yes, a year previously in the West Indies, we had beaten them in a one-day game. But we had one man in our team who was 100% confident. And that was Kapil Dev, a fighter to the core. I mean, that man would fit into any team in the world, not only as a batsman, as a bowler, but as a fielder. I mean, the catch that he took of Viv Richards was, I think no fielder at that time could have taken that catch, running backwards and, taking that catch. So he was one man who was always confident because he was a fighter. He led from the front. He was a fast bowler. He was an aggressive batsman, a brilliant fielder, a superb cricketing brain. And with the support of Sunil Gavaskar, who was much senior and, a much more matured man. And here is a young man, same age as me, 24 years old, is Kapil Dev. Here you have a mature head in Sunil Gavaskar, who's there. You have a Jimmy Amarnath, a Kirmani, and a Madan Lal, the four seniors. And otherwise, all of us are 1 or 2, 3 years senior or junior to each other. So these guys were there, and with the backing of Sunil Gavaskar there for Kapil, and Kapil's aggressive thought and the maturity of Sunil Gavaskar worked for us. But Kapil Dev, from the very beginning, was sure that if we play well, we can win, because he said the elephant, हाथी को अपनी ताकत का पता नहीं होता, अगर सबको मालूम हो तो मुझे पूरा भरोसा है हम जीत सकते हैं. And that was the way he did. That is the way he played.
And when you mentioned
we played against the West Indies, we beat West Indies. We scored 260 odd runs, and Yashpal Sharma played a superb knock. We beat them the very first game, and then we were pinching a few of us who were the backbenchers of the side, who would love to go to a pub in the evening and have a few drinks, like me, like Sandeep Patil, Roger Binny, Ravi Shastri, myself. So, we were pinching each other and saying, bloody hell, we won it. So very happy having some beers in the bus, and we were...
Now, tell me something. You mentioned that Kapil Dev was always confident. Now as I said, you are in the semi-finals. A place you may not have thought that you would rise to, except maybe Kapil Dev.
When we thought about that was the game against Zimbabwe.
Okay.
We were playing at Tunbridge Wells, and we were 9 for 4, and we were 17 for 5, and Kapil walks in. And then we are 75 for 7 when Kirmani walks in. And Kapil plays an innings. I think, unfortunately, that day BBC was on strike, or I don't know why didn't they come to our game. That 175 that he played was the best ever one-day knock played by anyone.
That's true.
When you have 17 for 5 wickets down to 17 runs, and you have 7 wickets down to 75, and Kirmani at the other end says, Kapil, tu घबरा नहीं, मैं आउट नहीं होऊंगा, तू अपना रन बनाता रहे, मैं रन आउट हो जाऊंगा, तू रन आउट मत होना. That was the spirit.
Achha.
And then when he did that 175, that was Diwali day, sahab. That was Diwali. Tunbridge Wells has these, asbesto sheets on top. So his sixes were lying at the asbesto and coming down, ton, making as if you have those bloody bombs you have in India. So that was a brilliant innings. And that too, the pitch was wet. The bowlers were getting all support, and batting conditions were terrible. And in that, Kapil came out with that brilliant 175, and we knew now we can do it.
Right.
And then we go on to beat Australia. We had to beat them on quotient. Kapil said, forget quotient. So did Sunny Gavaskar said, forget quotient. Let's go to win the game and not think about, 212 बनाए हैं, तो हमको 117 बनाने हैं या 238 बनाने हैं. Forget it. Just go, let's win it, enjoy the game of cricket.
Right.
And that was it. And we won it.
Now, you described Kapil Dev in some detail. What's happening here, Mr. Azad, is that you are almost preempting my questions, but I'm going to persist anyway. One of the things that I want to talk to you about is at Turnbridge. Again, I come back to the Zimbabwe match. 175 unbeaten. It's essentially one man winning, in a sense, the entire tournament, because that turned the fortunes completely around. Have you had a chance to, over the years, talk about what was his mental space at that stage? Was he thinking about larger picture, or he was just focused purely on specific games?
That guy is too modest. whenever we talk to him, he says, "Chhod na yaar, kya baat karenge." Even we spoke to him, but we were so excited at that time. After the tournament, we were celebrating and other things. But he is a very modest man. He's a very nice guy. He's a friend of friends, a brilliant chap. And I asked him, "Yaar, kya kaise hua?" Kehta, "Yaar, chalti hai, chali bas chali gayi." I thought I am an aggressive player. I'll try and stay at the wicket.
Right.
And we stayed at the wicket, and once the score was approximately 140, 150, I think last 15 overs were left, and he started bonking all over the ground. And it was a great treat to watch that innings. I was the 12th man in that match.
Right.
So I was taking water and drinks and bat changes and all that. So I was doing all that. So it was super fun.
Right. You've described him as the greatest all-rounder of all time. Has that record been disturbed since then?
The records have been disturbed. The records are meant to be broken. Let's be very. But when you look, you do not compare the eras. I mean, you cannot compare how would you whether Sachin Tendulkar was good or Sunil Gavaskar. They both were champions in their own way. You cannot compare.
Right.
But then, if you look at the playing conditions, at that time we had somebody like Ian Botham in England. You had Imran Khan in Pakistan. You had a Richard Hadley in New Zealand. You had a Dennis Lilly in Australia. They were all considered to be all-rounders. But if you look at all other all-rounders, their pitches were conducive to fast bowling. England, the ball used to swing. Australia, there was a lot of swing, a lot of bounce. Pakistan, there was a lot of bounce. New Zealand ball used to swing and have a lot of bounce and pace. So when you compare them with Kapil, and he's got the maximum number of wickets in the name that I have taken. That man was bowling on Indian docile tracks, where we all know during the 70s and early 80s, you would have two seamers, one seamer and one all-rounder. Say Sayyid Abid Ali bowling 2 overs, Eknath Solkar bowling 1 from the other end, and you have a Bishan Singh Bedi coming from one end, Irapalli Prasanna, Chandrasekhar, and Venkat Raghavan coming into bowl. So those were docile dead wickets for spinners. And this man breaks his back. He bends his back in these matches and gets 434 wickets in test matches, which obviously is commendable, because if the same number of years were played, say by Ian Botham, Imran Khan, Richard Hadley or Dennis Lilly in India, I don't know how would they have fared. But here was Kapil Dev, who picked 434 wickets playing on these Indian docile wickets. I mean, 50% of the matches he played here.
Right.
Otherwise, if you see that, say, Richards or Imran Khan or Ian Botham or Dennis Lilly would have played 50% or more than 50% of the matches at home grounds, which were conducive to fast bowlers. But India wasn't.
Yeah.
So here was the trend when it started. And 83 basically made India as the superpower in cricket. Money started coming in. The ICC started recognizing India. And we had our president and we had our chairman of the ICC, International Cricket Council. You had the Reliance coming in and sponsoring the 1987 World Cup. So it was a kind of a renaissance that started after we won the 1983. And then the ESPN and Star came into India. And then you started watching TV from different angles, and then sponsorships and money started coming in. So we basically can be called the pioneers of making cricket onto the on the world map. India onto the world map of cricket.
Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about your economy for that particular match against England. If I quote the figures, you had 12 overs, 1 maiden, 28 runs and 1 wicket, with an economy of 2.33. Now, that's a remarkable figure in a limited over game where people are just hitting wherever they want to. Did you see yourself as a bowler much, or did you see yourself as an all-rounder? How did you perceive yourself then?
I think I was a batting all-rounder. I was more into batting and so I was a batting all-rounder. And I think it's still in the top 10 economical spells in the World Cup. I don't know if it still stays or not, but I saw that about 5-6 years ago. I haven't seen it. But I was a batting all-rounder, and I would love to hit around and, just play like, what should I say? Like Hanuman Sena.
I'm going to come to your personal record in a bit, but I want to graduate to the West Indies match. And think about this. It had a formidable reputation with Greenwich and Haynes, and of course the great Vivian Richards and Lloyd as the batsmen. And then you had Marshall, Garner, Roberts, and Holding as the fearsome fast bowlers. And you are up against that team, although you had beaten England handily. Describe to me what's the mindset in you and Kapil Dev, who already thought that we were going to win the World Cup. What was going on at that point?
Well, we had won the semi-finals, and now here we were at Lord's to play the finals. All of us had upset tummies, I suppose. I had one on the previous night before the game. It always happens when you're slightly tense. And we came to the ground. Well, we had beaten the West Indies. We lost to them the second time played at the Oval, Surrey. We beaten them at Old Trafford, the very first game of the opening game that was there of the World Cup. They were the most fierce side. Many cricket critics and pundits have said that that is the best one-day team ever, with as you named all of them, with the four battery of fast bowlers bowling over 95 miles per hour. And they had a Colin Croft, a person like Croft who was nasty, was sitting outside. Wayne Daniels sitting outside in the reserve, who would have played for any team in the world at that time. And here we come in the morning, obviously a little jittery, playing the world champions. Nobody has expected us to be there. So obviously we have nothing to lose but everything to gain. But then a lot of those people, the English crowd, English people who had bought tickets anticipating that England would be there, were selling the tickets outside the Lord's cricket ground.
I see.
So a lot of these Indians had come there and they were buying it. The ones that were for 50 pounds were getting for 10 pounds. You know, they didn't realize that they could really sell those 50 for 100 pounds or whatever. But so half of it was the Indian crowd. Half of it was the West Indian crowd, and the cheering with Indian flags and everything is going on. And there we go and look at Lord's, and when you play a one-day game, you expect it to be a good batting track where you make a lot of runs and, let the opposition chase it. But when you go there, it's absolutely green track, a lot of grass on it, with their four fast bowlers. Well, obviously, they have an advantage. Lo and behold, they win the toss and put us in. And the collapse starts. And we get out to 183.
Right.
Because there they are, the battery of fast bowlers. One goes, the second comes, second goes, the third comes, the third goes, the fourth comes. So we are out for 183. We're in the dressing room. A lot of the Indians have left the ground. And there we are sitting, and Kapil says something to the tune of, Chalo Javano Lado. हमने 183 बनाए हैं, उनको 183 बनाने हैं. So let's make it very hard for them to score these runs. So we go in, and there it is, shouldering arms is Gordon Greenwich, bowled by Balwinder Singh Sandhu. You have a Viv Richards coming in, and then he starts blasting everybody. He starts hitting Kapil Dev from outside to wide mid onto square leg, and it seems that the match will be over in 30 overs. And suddenly, he mishooks. Kapil runs behind and catches. That's a brilliant catch. And you know what? If you look at those, it used to be, tapes those days. That used to be, the VHS.
Right.
So if I have that recording on VHS still. And so when you look at that, he's running back. You'll find that Yashpal Sharma is running from fine leg towards him. And there's one guy from the crowd running towards him.
Oh my God.
And I'm standing in mid-on and scared. I'm scared that this guy may hit Kapil and he will drop the catch. So whenever I watch that video, I always fast forward it just in case if somebody goes and hits him. So, that brilliant catch he takes. And so obviously the spirits are high. And then Kapil says, let's restrict them. If we get a couple of wickets more, they succumb very fast and to pressure. And that is exactly what happened.
140 for the West Indies.
Correct.
That's almost like giving up.
75 for 6, still they managed 140.
That's true, yeah. That brings me to the state of cricket now, particularly when you're just a week away from IPL 2020 and the bio bubble around it with the coronavirus being what it is. How do you view the game now? Because as you mentioned, 1983 was really the fountainhead of this kind of quick cricketing games. How do you see IPL, and do you ever imagine yourself if you were playing now?
I was either born 25 years too late, either I was born 25 years too early, or the IPL came 25 years too late. Otherwise, I'm sure I would have enjoyed this time of cricket. And it's all entertainment. It's all entertainment. It's basically quantity and not quality. But then, if you need entertainment, that is what you get.
Right.
Real cricket, the art of the game, is when you play days cricket. Because I feel that when you play days cricket, you can compare it to life, the ups and downs of life. And it's very similar to that.
Right.
So it's a great learning. If you want to be a great cricketer, you should always be well versed with day games. Because when you're playing a one-day game, you're just bowling 4 overs. When you play 20-20, when you play 50 overs, you just bowl 10 overs. But when you're playing a test match, you have to bowl 20, 25 overs in a day. And if you're fielding for 2 days, then you have to bowl 40, 45 overs. You have to bat. If the situation is good, you're batting fine. If there are 4 wickets down, then you have to put your guard down and slow and easy build the innings again. When you have trouble in your business and you have losses, then you slowly and slowly try and make up your business again. Same thing is cricket. Same thing is life. Life also goes. There's lots of ups and downs. And that is what we find in cricket as well.
Right. I was going through your personal record, and I was struck by a couple of things. One is, of course, you were an outstanding Ranji Trophy player, close to 5,000 runs, right, at an average of 47 plus, and 96 games, roughly. I'm just saying off the top of my head.
96 matches, I could have played 100 games, but I became a member legislative assembly in 93.
Yeah, from Gold Market.
Yes, I was captaining the Delhi Ranji Trophy team, and then I thought I was not doing justice to either, because I was torn between 2 lovers, feeling like a fool. And cricket is my love. I'm a sportsman at heart and a politician by choice. So I had to leave cricket. So it had to be 96 games.
What I wanted to ask you is, a lot of people notice, and I'm sure it's your life, you noticed it too, that your obvious potential did not reflect in the international games. Why do you think that is, and do you regret that?
Well, see, what happens is that if you're getting picked for a game and getting dropped again, anybody can have a bad game.
Right.
Anybody can have a bad series. But if you have this at the back of your mind that, yes, you'll get a good run of 4 or 5 matches, then at least even if you fail in one, you know that you can make up in the other. Here, the sword was hanging on the head all the time that if you don't do well, you're going to be out of the side. And when I played these 7 test matches, I played from 1980-81 till 85. In 5 years, I played 7 test matches. So that was it, because I never got an opportunity, opportunities to play 4 or 5 matches at the go. So, even if you fail in one, you do well. If you fail again in one, but then you get that kind of confidence.
Right. Have you wondered?
You have to be a Sunil Gavaskar.
Have you wondered why that was? Why you were treated in that fashion, or it's one of those erratic things in cricket?
Oh, well, it happens. I mean, I have no regrets in life. What has happened has happened.
No, I understand that, but I'm sure there are times when you think about what if you had the extended opportunity to showcase your talent. The board would have looked very different, right?
Well, yes. I mean, there are ifs and buts in life. Obviously, what's going to happen after I finish the interview with you, I don't know. So there are obviously ifs and buts, but what to talk about? Why to cry over spilt milk now?
True. Final question about the game of cricket. Do you prefer the test format over what's going on now, or you think it's just the evolution of the game?
Personally, the kind of game that I play, I love to play one-day cricket. But being a purist, I love a 5-day game.
I see. Now, let me come to the area that I'm particularly interested in. Before that, there is one more. How would you describe the management of game of cricket as well as sports management generally in India? Do you think the game of cricket is so overwhelming that everything else gets pushed around? Is that your sense?
As a cricketer, Fortunately, yes, good. And as a sports person, I think it's not good at all because we have great players in other sports as well. But the only thing is that when you play cricket, you know the next 5 years fixtures as to what is going to happen. You know the Ranji Trophy is going to come from this particular time to this particular time. These are the grounds where they'll be played. But unfortunately, other games, due to their mismanagement, I say that BCCI very well managed, in spite of the Lodha Committee recommendation, Supreme Court passing the order, it's still not learnt its lesson. But the other sports are really bad. Nobody knows when the nationals are held, state level tournaments are held, when are the nationals held, what is happening, nobody knows about it. But for a cricketer, he is getting married or his wife is pregnant. Everybody knows that Anushka is pregnant, Virat's wife. This is there. But you know, we've had such greats like PV Sindhu just now, a badminton player. What a great player she is. We have had a Vishwanathan Anand, who's a 6-time world champion of chess. And so, you know, unfortunately, these names don't come out. They are not as popular as you'll find in cricket. Even an average cricketer would be more popular than these icons.
Right.
People like in archery, you have in athletics, you have in wrestling. They're absolutely brilliant. But unfortunately, they don't get the mileage cricket does.
But do you...
cricket does because I'll tell you why. Because cricket is a game of glorious uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen in the next ball. Whether it's going to be a hit for a six or wicket is going to be taken. So that is a kind of an excitement that is there, which I feel it may not be there anywhere. But then if you watch a game of badminton, it's so fast, you really enjoy it. I mean, you look at the picks and defense and running here and there, and the kind of physical duress is there.
Right.
When you play hockey, it's like a magician. Now it's more of AstroTurf. Earlier, I remember when I was small, we used to watch it on grass, playing on natural surfaces. But now you have it on AstroTurf. Shooting is such a great game, you know. The wind, you have got to calculate the wind speed and things and then do shooting. So they all have to be, I mean, every game you play has to have some kind of difficulties that you got to go against. But the uncertainty of what's going to happen in the next ball, and they are going to be 20 overs or 50 overs or a full day game, is there from the first ball till the last. Right,
right. You're that rare cricketer who has transitioned very successfully from cricket to politics. You've been a very high-profile politician, one would say, and controversially so in some ways. Where are you now in terms of your personal prospects in public life? I know you're with the Congress party after your sort of a scrap with the BJP. Where do you see yourself at this stage when the country's politics is so fractious and so completely dominated by one kind of thinking?
I must tell you that I never had any problems with the BJP. I am, as I told you, that Firozshah Kotla, where I played cricket, is a temple for me. Because Saraswati, we Hindus believe, is the goddess of learning, Vidya. And that was a temple for me. And we had late, God rest his soul in peace, late Arun Jaitley, became the president of DDC in 1999, and we helped him and told him that a Central Bureau of Investigation had taken place in 1982, and lots of people had gone to jail for alleged corruption. And the same people are still here in 99, so you better be careful. And because he was a very learned man, spoke really well, a good lawyer, we all expected that he will curb this kind of corruption. But unfortunately, for the first 3-4 years, he was good. And then the corruption started. And I don't say so. It is the Serious Fraud Investigating Office says so, 400 crores. And then when I had gone into the High Court and asked for an administrator to be appointed at DDCA, and when they appointed the administrator, he went in for a special audit, the forensic audit, and they also said exactly, my stand was vindicated when they said that 400 crore corruption had taken place. And this was it. And for me, it wasn't against the party. It was different that Jaitley was a minister in the cabinet, but he was there in a private capacity and not as a minister or a BJP representative on the DDCA. And since it was, and I was a member of DDCA, and I've been a cricketer, and I have papers with me, I had put a question in Parliament, and the SFI report had come out with it. I wanted that action should be taken. And when I raised my voice, Because my father was a very honest person. He was the youngest member of First Indian Parliament. He was a freedom fighter. He went to jail 6 times, 150 lashes on his back, a bullet past his leg. He was also a former chief minister of Bihar. He told me, don't compromise as far as truth and honesty is concerned. So I followed his path. I didn't believe in the consequences. So when I said that this should be done, the party where my honorable Prime Minister, for whom I have great regards, Mr. Modi, had said, na khaunga, na khane dunga. Here it was, blatant, in black and white. 5 reports. These are the 2 official reports, and there are other reports, internal reports, but pushed under the carpet. And here I was. So I don't care. I will eat ghas ki roti like Maharana Pratap, but no, bow down like that. No way. I played for my country. I am a freedom fighter's son, and no way.
No, but that reflects somewhat, somewhat I'm understating it, poorly on the way the party, the BJP, handled your affair, especially because you were pitted against a very powerful politician of the day. Mr. Jaitley is no more.
And he was junior to me. He was junior to me. I was from 1993. He became only in 2000. He was very much junior to me in electoral politics.
No, that's true. But in terms of building up his profile, I think he was rather quick with that, right?
Oh, yes. He was absolutely brilliant. No way.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. He was a great speaker. He was a great charmer.
Yeah. Well, when you look back in that particular era, because I distinctly remember I was stationed in Delhi, so I'm aware of what was going on. It's extraordinary that despite such huge-scale corruption, which I don't know whether it was at his connivance or what his personal role would have been, or whether there was any at all. Why do you think that happened? Why was it overlooked?
I wrote many letters to him, not one. I have a full bundle of about 50 to 60 letters that I wrote to him, informing him about all the bungling and corruption that was taking place, which was proven in the serious SFIO report and also the forensic audit, the special audit. It was all there. He knew about it. But then the question is, in those days, there were about 4,200 members. And say, for instance, if you're a director, you have, say, 400 proxies. I am a director. I have 300 proxies. So there were only a handful of 10 to 12 people who controlled those proxies. And hence, to become a president, you needed at least people with 2,200 votes, because half mark is 21. Mm-hmm. So in that, these people would get together and say, okay, fine, our president rahenge, whatever, and then obviously corruption thrived there, because these are the people who are controlling the proxies, these are the people who are controlling the finances, and that is how it happened. Right. So I won't say that he was involved, but he knew very well that corruption was taking place.
I see. Coming back to your current position, you've been part of both the major parties, the BJP and now Congress. What are the basic differences that you see apart from the obvious ideological ones in terms of the way the parties are run? Would you like to talk a bit about that?
Well, I was born into a Congress atmosphere because my father was a member of parliament from Congress.
Right.
And I went into the BJP. I find that the difference, again, it comes to dividing the society. And once you do that, people forget the unemployment part of it. People forget the COVID. People forget the GDP. People forget the atrocities that are taking place on the Dalits and others. And what happens is then you build a narrative like Hitler did. And he would say, hate me, but don't hate the country, but he would kill thousands of Jews every day. So that kind of narrative that is coming up is not good for the country. I'm a sportsman. I don't belong to any caste, creed, religion, or region. I belong to my country. And if you look at it, we had a Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, and Isai when we won the World Cup in 1980. The basic ethos of the nation is we got to stay together. If I am, say, where you are and I need blood, I won't say that I won't take your blood because you're not a Brahmin. I am a Brahmin, or somebody is so-and-so, or he is an Angrez. If your blood matches with mine, I'll go to blood bank. I won't see any of these things, whether you're a Hindu or a Muslim, a forward or a backward, an Indian or a Pakistani or an American. You would simply take that blood. Why? Because it's yours. So I feel the universal brotherhood is bloodhood, and we should be staying together. And that's a narrative which has been over the centuries in India, is now going down the drain.
That brings me to the role that your party, your current party, can play. It's almost become laughable to look at the goings on in the Congress party and the ferment and the pushes and pulls within the family. I mean, as I said, I've reported very extensively on from Delhi from the entire period of 1989 to 1998. I'm very well aware of the stresses and strains that happen. What do you think is happening in the Congress party right now?
Shouldn't we know as to what is happening in the country, as to what is happening in the Congress? Are you seeing the kind of press in the media? Are they showing anything as to China has occupied 1,000 square kilometers? Nepal has occupied 7,100 square kilometers. Look at the COVID, we've become the second highest. We're going to become number one in the world very soon. You're looking at the unemployment, you're looking at the GDP, which has been shown, it has been managed at minus 23.9. It's actually over 30. Is the media showing that? No. The media is showing that one of our famous heroes, superstar, Sushant Singh Rajput, whether he's been murdered or not. Now the press is on that. And I think before the CBI can come to any conclusion, I'm sure these people in the press will obviously give the verdict as to who's guilty. They've already given it. Now, we have major issues which are not coming up. Rahul Gandhi has been raising them regularly. But a narrative on the WhatsApp University in India and the Facebook University in India that works really very hard, and the students are trying to make a picture of Rahul Gandhi as Pappu. Now, nobody is ready to talk about the government. Everybody is talking about Congress, is trying to show Congress down. Why is it so? If Congress was in power, I was in BJP, I used to ask the question to Congress. Now today the BJP is in power. So why should the people and the press ask the question to the BJP, which is in government? You tell us, what are you doing for us? What are you doing about unemployment? What have you done about the floods, the devastating floods that came in the various parts of India? What are you doing on COVID? The Honorable Prime Minister said, Mahabharat ki ladai 18 din mein khatam hui thi. हमारे यहाँ कोविड की लड़ाई 21 दिन में खत्म हो जाएगी. More than 21 weeks have taken place, and look at where we are going. Is the media showing that? No. What they're doing is Congress is having a fight, internal fight. Which party doesn't have a fight? You mean to say BJP doesn't have internal fight? You mean to say that Amit Shah and Rajnath Singh are not fighting for a second position after Modi? Now these internal fights are going on, but they won't come up with it because the media is absolutely sold. That's the unfortunate part. And whatever is being shown to the people, and we're just grasping it. Now, Kangana Ranaut has come in. Uska ghar kyun tod diya? Yes, court hai na uske liye, uske saath mein galat hua. Bahut achhi baat hai. Shatrughan Sinha ka kisne toda tha? Aur Kapil Sharma ka kisne toda tha? That was Fadnavis at that time who's saying ki Kangana Ranaut's house has been broken. So, each government do what they do, whether it's right or wrong, we all know about it.
Right.
If everything was fair in India, wouldn't be going through this, what you're going through now.
Yeah. To lighten up the mood a bit in the last bits of our interview, there is a major movie coming up on 1983.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
What are your expectations? And I'm not sure who's playing your role.
There's one guy by the name of Dinkar Sharma. He's a very good theatre artist.
Okay.
And this movie was to be released on the 11th of April because of COVID, it got delayed. So we asked them, I said, the charm will go away. So the director and the producer said, no, it's a period film. People are not going to forget it. So it's a period film. It's not that a situation has arisen and we make a movie and the time goes away, so it's irrelevant. Yours is relevant. It's a story of the underdogs. So don't worry. So they're expecting a real, very good response on this.
And it's going to be a theatrical release?
Yeah, that's what they say, that it's basically movies for the theater. But obviously it will come out to digital platforms as well.
I see. Have you had a chance to look at any of the rushes or footage from the movie or not yet?
No, by the time it was ready and we were supposed to go and have a look at it, the lockdown came in and so everything got cancelled.
Yeah.
Lockdown came on the 23rd of March. The movie was to be released on the 10th or 11th of April. And between that time, we had to go and see if the team was going to be shown, and the press and critics and all that.
Right.
Unfortunately, that couldn't happen.
Just the last two bits, as I said, as I wrap up. One is, of course, did they specifically talk to the filmmakers? I mean, did they talk to you about what we discussed, Ian Botham and the wicket that turned the fortunes in a way? Was there any mention of that?
Yes. Yeah, actually, this movie is not going to be what we are saying. They will actually show what it is. But all the cricketers were called, and they were asked whatever your experiences are and what happened, what was the highlight during the tour, if you remember any anecdotes, any funny one or serious ones and all that. So they had the camera, they were asking questions, we were speaking whatever we remembered of the thing, and they were all recording everything of it, and they were making scripts of that, sending it to us and saying, well, this is what you said, do you have anything to add on to it or anything of the sort, and send us a clip. So this is how it went on for about 3-4 months. And they kept on collecting that, whatever they could collect from all the players, they collected that, and anecdotes and funny ones or serious ones or anything that have happened. So we kept on narrating it to them. And then the actors, like the guy who was acting for me, he came to my house and he would see how I walk, how I talk, how I laugh, how I'm serious when I get angry, how I eat, all those required to be similar, if not absolutely similar.
Right.
So that's what they did with everybody. I think this Ranveer thing stayed with Kapil. Ranveer and Deepika stayed with Kapil and Romy for about a week or so at his house, morning till evening.
I see. And finally, this is the swan song for Mahendra Singh Dhoni, this IPL 2020. Would you like to say a bit about his career, where you see him in cricket history?
I think he's one of the greats, a great captain, Captain Cool. He would encourage youngsters, never had any ego that I'm a senior and I'm the captain, so I should be, have an ego about myself. Even Virat Kohli, if you remember, was the greatest, one of the superb batsmen ever born. He is also appreciated that when he was going through bad times, it was Dhoni who encouraged him to do well. He would look into a potential of a player and then accordingly boost them, help them, encourage them. So I feel Captain Cool, great man. He was like a chess player. He could think of moves as a captain, 3 moves ahead, and great finisher. He would take the game to the end. He wouldn't play any foolish shots, keep on accumulating runs slow and easy whenever the opportunity came hit. And he would bring it really close without taking risk and make India win. So, and one captain who won all the 3 World Cups, the 3 editions of the World Cup, the 2020, the 50 and the Champions Trophy.
Right. On that wonderful note, Mr. Azad, I want to thank you for your time. Sorry about the earlier glitches, but we overcame that, and we look forward to seeing you on screen pretty soon.
Thank you very much, Mrinalji. Nice speaking to you and to everyone.
Likewise.
Bhajega Bharat, Jhumega Bharat.
So nice of you to say that. Thank you. अच्छा जी, मिलेंगे फिर कभी.
Stop the stream.
बिल्कुल 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 मिलते हैं फिर.
Thank you, sir. All the best to everyone.
Thank you, you too.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत. बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
This is Bharat FM.